ABC 27 Digital Now Center. This is Beyond the Forecast with your most accurate local meteorologists.
Well, we say good morning, everybody. It is great to be with all of you here again on Beyond the Forecast as we try to give you these live digital updates each morning. I am meteorologist Brett Thakora, and remember yesterday we talked about getting just a little bit of rain, just a little shower or two creeping in here from a trough. Well, that ended up happening. We're going to review that. We're going to check the tropics. And, of course, we are going to look ahead to the Labor Day weekend forecast. For those of you hoping for some rain, unfortunately, it's not great. We don't have much to talk about. Yesterday was about it. Doppler radar quiet this morning. Listen, I'm loving this type of weather, but there is no doubt our lawns and gardens could use a drink. Now, yesterday, if you didn't believe me, there were a couple of showers around. You can see them moving through. They were pretty weak, though, and they did not amount to much. We'll let the radar play out again so you can see what I mean. Just enough forcing to create a very weak shower. Northern York, Lancaster County, Northern Dauphin, Lebanon County, they're getting a little bit of rain. It was mainly confined to our northern zones yesterday, and when we look at the average accumulation across the region, less than 1/10 of an inch, pretty piddly. Dry weather often begets more dry weather, just like wet weather begets more wet weather, and that's what we've had here. We've had a very wet pattern in June and July, a very dry pattern in August, and that looks to continue into September. Here is downtown Elizabethtown. The library sale, the Friends of the Library Sale, happening in early September. We know some fine folks in E-Town, and they came on Good Day PA the other day to promote it. Library at a great location to check out the beautiful weather in northwestern Lancaster County this morning. Satellite and radar picture is quiet, and we're talking about dead quiet, high pressure building in. Temperatures are dipping into the 40s this morning in some locations like Manheim, 47 degrees, now up to 48. With our real-time numbers across the area, Mechanicsburg, Harrisburg, and Fawn Grove all in the low to mid-50s. So a bit of a range this morning. Look at York, for example, 48. Harrisburg sitting at 57, but still pretty comfortable. Lebanon at 58 and Philly's at 61. This is a little cooler in some spots, just by a couple of degrees this morning, but otherwise we're pretty much going to be consistent for most mornings. Current dew points are in the 40s. We are approaching a time of year when we no longer really have to talk about dew points, and I, for one, cannot wait for that to occur. We did get a trace of rain at the airport, and we still have a surplus because of all the rain that we had in June and July. That has helped, but we are behind in August for sure. 77 was the high yesterday, below the normal of 83. Here's a live view of Penn Medicine Park. How great does that look on this Wednesday morning? Gorgeous weather there, and the Lancaster Stormers, of course, in the playoff chase. They're trying to chase down another championship. Mid-70s this afternoon. Awesome weather for baseball across the region. The Phillies, by the way, not great. They go up to New York again and drop 2 games. I'll talk about it on my podcast with meteorologist Dan Tomaso. That is Weather Wagers. We have episodes dropping every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch it on the ABC 27 Plus CTV app, Apple TV, Fire Stick, Roku. It's all there. I'm going to go off on the Philadelphia Phillies, especially if they lose again tonight. Good baseball weather in New York, good baseball weather across the Northeast. Now, we are seeing some lake effect showers across Erie and Buffalo, but for the most part, the weather is quiet thanks to high pressure. I mean, this high is awesome, and I'm talking about very, very good weather. Not only for us, but across 2/3 of the country. The Rocky Mountains dealing with a little bit of a disturbance, but we're fine. And other than a few cumulus clouds popping up with the heating of the day, it looks good today, tomorrow, and Friday. Now, tomorrow night, there is a front coming through with a couple of showers across northern Pennsylvania. PrecisionCast says don't get any hopes up around here for rain. It looks pretty quiet. Friday will be a breezy day as well. Let's talk temperatures. Mid-70s here this afternoon. It looks pretty quiet, pretty awesome. Temperatures tonight, again, likely dipping into the 40s and low to mid-50s, just like today, and then mid to upper 70s tomorrow afternoon. So the days will be warm, even though it's below normal. We should be in the 80s, and we just don't see that happening. A slight breeze this afternoon from the northwest will back off for tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, as this front moves in, we anticipate the breeze to pick back up on Friday. I think Friday will be a breezy day, winds at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. So make note, Friday looks breezy. Let's talk tropics here for just a bit. And there's not much to talk about again. Here is Tropical Storm Fernand, winds at 45 miles an hour. It's moving east. It looks a little more organized. But this is a storm that's on its own in the Atlantic Basin, and it's way out there, and it's in the northern Atlantic. Look at what we have going on. Not much. And you might be saying to yourself, well, there's a couple of waves coming off Africa. There's a couple of disturbances that we see here in the tropics, like right here and right here. They're trying to get their act together. Some more waves are coming off of Africa. This is statistically the best time of year for the tropics, that it really does look active. But we're just not seeing anything. So I'm going to pull up our friends at the National Hurricane Center, and typically they will track these things. Guess what? They're not seeing anything. There's Fernand out there all by itself in the Atlantic, and it really is all by itself. I mean, nothing happening. They're not seeing any activity beyond that. So again, thanks to our friends at the NHC, the National Hurricane Center, we're not going to be getting a tropical system anytime soon, which may help our rainfall. But again, we're kind of over the flooding here and all of that as well. But when we look at the long range, Friday looks dry. Saturday looks dry. Let me go back here so that you could see. I really do not anticipate much happening even into Sunday. So everything looks nice and quiet here across the mid-state through Labor Day, which means the unofficial end of summer looks good. Now, next week, maybe we get a little bit of coastal moisture from a storm. I wouldn't bank on this. We're going to show you the European rain totals and then a front maybe by late next week. But until then, it looks remarkably quiet, folks. 75 degrees today, partly cloudy skies, a very pleasant afternoon on tap. 52 tonight, partly cloudy, very pleasant. Boring and comfortable, that's the theme here for the next 7 days, and I'm talking really nice over the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Labor Day, Monday looks good for your plans. And next week, we do get a little bit warmer as temperatures go back up near 80 degrees. But again, let's look at the long range for a second here in terms of our temperatures. And one of the things that we're seeing is that it really looks like we're done with the 90-degree heat. I will say, as we move into early September, the Climate Prediction Office says we're going to be cool. And that's the way it looks like to me as well. I'm waiting for our data to load here because I want to show you the graph and take you out here over the course of the next couple of weeks. And you can see, as I pull it up here, the long-range temperature with our model blend stays in the 70s and maybe some low 80s. The European, which does tend to run warmer, but even again, I cautioned you yesterday, the European had some 90s on there. Now, mostly 70s and 80s. So I really don't see the 90s coming back anytime soon. As we get later into September, climatologically speaking, they're going to be done anyway. So between the blend of models here that the NWS uses and the European, and based on what I'm seeing too when I look at this stuff, we're going to stay relatively comfortable here as we move into September. Now, the next thing I want to look at, we are going to show rainfall totals here in just a second. We're going to use the European as our guide, and we're going to take you out through early September because we want to take a look at what's happening here with our rainfall totals. Bear with me here for a second. And hold on. Let me see if I can pull this up. Here we go. All right, let's show the European here. We're going to take a look at our rainfall totals and what we've got. Now, this is through Labor Day weekend, and you'll notice there's not much happening here. Even that front on Thursday night does not deliver much. Let's go into next week. Wednesday, as I mentioned, maybe some coastal moisture, but it really doesn't move into our neck of the woods. A couple of showers on Thursday. We're taking you all the way out. This model goes through mid-September. And, maybe a half inch to an inch of rain. But, even through next Tuesday, look at this and beyond. I mean, this is not a lot of rain going into the rest of September. So it's something that we're watching. Hopefully we don't go back into drought territory, but it is possible. And I know some of you are thinking, how can that possibly be? Well, it doesn't take long, and we have not had much rain in August. But that's a sort of a look at some of the things that maybe we don't have a lot of time to talk about on the newscasts, but we do like to go beyond the forecast here, and that's what we're going to do. So remember, you can download our CTV app on your Roku, your Fire Stick, and your Apple TV. We've got a lot of programming on there, including our live newscast, but we've got more episodes of Beyond the Forecast each and every day. As I mentioned, Dan Tomaso and I host a podcast called Weather Wagers, where we talk sports betting, and the forecast for games and those drop on Thursdays. We hope you'll join us there. In the meantime, for this episode of Beyond the Forecast, I'm meteorologist Brett Thakora. Hope you have a great day, everybody.